Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Superheroes, Movies, and Superhero Movies. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm John Pelzel.
And today we're talking about The Suicide Squad. Released in 2021, written and directed by James Gunn, and starring Margot Robbie, Idris Elba, John Cena, Joel Kinnaman, Viola Davis, Sylvester Stallone as the voice of King Shark. I was debating on whether or not I wanted to read all these names for all these actors who are not in the movie that long. But I guess I could. Michael Rooker, Pete Davidson, David Dastmalchian. I can't believe I forgot about him. Also, Daniela, I don't know how to say her name. Daniela Melchior? Ratcatcher 2. That's who she plays. She's not like high on the list here, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, I was going to say she's one of the actual...
She's a part of the main squad.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, this movie was just released a couple weeks ago. It'll be a little bit longer once this episode airs, but pretty fresh in our minds. So I'm dying to talk to you about this, John, because I talked to our friend Stu about this a little bit on his podcast, and I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are. So right out of the gate, what was your first impression of the Suicide Squad?
No, I'm going to turn it on you.
Okay.
Since you've already talked about it. I want to hear what you have to say.
All right. Well, here's what my initial thought was. When I watched it the first time, I watched it the day it came out, Thursday night on HBO Max. I wanted to see it in the theater, but couldn't make it, so HBO Max. And I thought it was okay. My big kind of initial reaction was I felt like I had seen a lot of it already in the theater. Or not in the theater, in the trailer. Obviously there was a lot of violence and language and stuff that they didn't have in the trailer, but nothing was really a surprise to me. There were some nice heartfelt moments that were not, they kind of hinted at in the trailer, but otherwise, like Starro the Conqueror, I knew he was coming. I had a feeling that a lot of these cast members were going to die early on because you only saw them in you only saw them in like select shots in the trailer, so it was like, okay, they're only going to be in those scenes probably. So yeah, when it ended, I just thought, okay, it was a good movie, but it didn't wow me. And then I got online and I was reading all these reviews and people were talking about how it's a masterpiece and like it's DC's best movie, and I was like, really? So, I watched it again, and I talked about it on Stu's podcast, and I feel like maybe I will kind of grow to like it a little bit more, but overall, I just kind of thought it, I think it's a good movie. I don't think it's bad by any means, but I just didn't really I don't think it's DC's best movie by any means.
Well, I didn't even go as far into thinking as to is it DC's best movie, but I had the same reaction the first time I watched it. So here's the deal. I didn't see the trailer. Did I see the trailer? I don't remember what was in the trailer if I did. And if I did, I saw it once. Because I don't really watch trailers.
Right.
You tend to definitely watch trailers.
Yeah, a little bit, probably more than you do. Yes. Yeah. I seek them out on YouTube. Yes. So I guess I do.
So I didn't even know who was. I knew that there was King Shark,
mm-hmm.
but I didn't. I had never even heard of King Shark.
Oh, really? This. Okay.
Yeah. I was like, okay, Killer Croc,
right,
inspired, obviously. But especially with me not liking Suicide Squad at all. And I knew that this was James Gunn, but I don't know if I had forgotten or and honestly, I think I've only what else has he done besides
Guardians?
Yeah, I think we've talked about this before.
He did a horror movie called Slither, and he did a movie with Rainn Wilson. It was kind of a superhero film called Super, actually, I think. which I did not like. It's kind of a dark comedy. I don't know. It just didn't. I didn't care for it, but maybe I need to revisit it. But and I haven't seen
Speaking
Slither,
of dark
so really
comedies,
yeah.
go ahead.
Well, the only James Gunn movies I've seen are from the ones that he's directed anyway are the Guardians movies. He wrote a couple other things. He wrote
speaking of
Dawn of the Dead, and he wrote the Scooby-Doo movies. He wrote the Dawn of the Dead
movies,
remake,
which I've never seen. Speaking of dark comedies, this I would say was a dark comedy.
Oh yeah, for sure. This is definitely a dark comedy.
Yeah. But so what I was going to say with the trailer stuff, like, I will start by saying my first viewing of this, I didn't really know how to take it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember thinking within the first 15 minutes, and we were getting like, where they were coming up on the shore, and they went through all that stuff. I was like, this movie is, I don't know how I feel about it, but I know that it's absolutely ridiculous. is what I was thinking the first 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And I remember, I don't remember her name, but the girl that like swings on the helicopter.
Mongol.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I saw that and I was like, I can't stand this. I was like, I don't think I'm going to like this. I was like, I got a bad feeling from that. Before that, I remember my strongest reaction was Weasel.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't start laughing until it's cut back to the headquarters. And what's his name? Rooker's character.
Savant.
Yeah. When he was swimming him back to shore through the viewpoint of the computer screen, I started laughing. And I was like, okay, I like this. And then he gets him to the shore and says, Weasel's dead. I lost it. I thought that was hilarious.
Wow. That's funny. I laughed a little bit before that. When Weasel falls into the water and starts flailing around, and Rick Flag was like, "Did anybody think to ask if Weasel could swim?" I laughed at that part. I just thought that was kind of funny. That
to me, I did too. Or I was like, okay, I was like, we got some forced humor here.
Yeah.
But then I got it. So continuing on, the whole like thing with that, I didn't really like. It just felt, I don't know, too almost original Suicide Squad-esque, as far as like it was begging for you to like the extreme moment that we just had. And I've just felt like that too much. So, but it was cool to reveal the real Suicide Squad.
Right.
Which, once again, I had no idea this was going to happen because I didn't see it in the trailer. So that really threw me, and I did like that. Throughout the rest of the movie, for my first viewing, like you said, I just thought it was okay. Now I went back on and did the same thing you did, and I was like, all I saw were like people talking about how good it was, and I was like, people were saying, yeah, it's better than Suicide Squad. Of course it was. Like,
right. That's not a difficult bar to overcome. Or
right.
Whatever.
But we were going to do this episode, and we were wanting to do it last weekend, but we didn't. And we were like, let's sit down and do it this weekend. And I was like, it's been a week. I kind of want to see if I have a different feeling after reading this, and I'd like to have it fresh in my mind for the podcast again. So I just watched it again. And man, my feeling for how how much I liked the movie was 180.
Really?
It was insane. Yes. This movie, I love it.
Oh wow.
Love
Good.
love is a little strong, but man, the second view, so I found what it was I think when I started it the second time, I now had an idea of what the movie was trying to be.
Mm-hmm.
Which I was confused about at the beginning. And I think distracted me really. Like, I knew that I was connected to the characters the first viewing, but I remember after, right? After I watched the movie, I still had these characters kind of in my subconscious. Like they stood out. Um, and then watching it the second time, knowing who the characters were, really I was able to get super invested. And it was awesome. Peacemaker is so awesome. I love his character. I love his suit.
Yeah.
The silver toilet bowl like
Yeah, yeah.
helmet.
Yeah.
Like it's just completely extreme. And you can't, I don't know. It's really hard, obviously, to do this with movies that take themselves seriously. And that was something that this movie was able to do, was not take itself seriously, but at the same time have those enough woven in moments where there were serious moments and it made it work. And James Gunn, I think, just nailed it again with his ability to take a comedy and a serious movie and kind of make it both work and not conflict with itself.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's cool. I'm glad you like it even more this time around. That was
Yeah,
I was very
I'm
curious because
excited to talk about more of like, moments that stood out to me, especially the second time.
I was very curious. I thought either you were gonna love it or you were gonna hate it. I wasn't sure. Um, and so it's interesting to hear that you kind of weren't really liking it the first time around, and then
The more the movie
second
went on
viewing.
the first time, the more I didn't like it because I did not like Starro at first.
Right.
And
Did you
like,
know who Starro was
nope.
ahead of time?
I
See,
had I had no idea that it was going to be this. And I remember the first time that his tentacle like slams up in the glass, the first time I saw it, I remember thinking, if Watchmen had been made today, we would have gotten
the squid.
the giant squid.
Yeah.
Um, but here we are getting Starro. So the first time, like I said, I didn't like it. It was just, I didn't like watching a giant CGI star destroy a city, even though, it's comical and it's weird and
Yeah.
all this at once, colorful, like he's blue and pink and it's a ice, spectacle. But the second time viewing, I thought it was cool.
So I think you saw the first teaser because I think we texted each other about it, and the first teaser trailer did nothing for me. A lot of people were excited about it, and I thought that, I don't know, it just didn't get me excited for the movie at all. But at the very end of that teaser, you see a brief glimpse of Starro, and so I knew he was in the movie. But I also knew who Starro was. I don't think I knew that he could control people using like the small versions of Starro. In fact, the Starro that I think I've read in the comics was working with the Justice League. So somewhere in the comics, he went from being kind of a villain to being a good guy, or it's a different version of Starro or something. I'm not sure. But I'm pretty sure I've got some Justice League comics upstairs that have Starro working with the Justice League. And he's like
Crazy.
telepathic. So I knew who Starro was. So seeing him was not bad for me. But when the first time I watched it with Denise, and when the movie ended, I don't know what her thoughts about the movie overall were, but she goes, Starro was the stupidest villain I've ever seen. She thought
I felt the same way.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, but no, the second time, I don't know, man. It just, to me, the second time, but you said you've seen it twice and it's still okay to you.
Yeah, I think honestly talking about it on the Stu's podcast, I think made me like it a little bit more. And my wife, she goes, "You always do this." She was like, "What?"
She's mad that you're like starting to like it.
Yeah.
She's like, "You were right the first time.
Right.
It was not good, and now you're trying to make up reasons why it is."
Right, basically. And I think part of it is I want to like it, and I don't not like it. I like the movie. I'm just not like in love with the movie, and I think
it's funny because I wanted to not like it because I was like, "Why are we rebooting Suicide Squad?"
Right.
I was like, "But man, Bloodsport, fantastic character."
Mm-hmm. I will say my only complaint. I agree. Bloodsport is awesome. Idris Elba is awesome as Bloodsport. My only complaint about Bloodsport is in the beginning of the film, it really feels like it's supposed to be Deadshot. He's got, his daughter comes to visit him, and Amanda Waller uses his daughter against him, and it's just, it feels like it was originally Deadshot, and then Will Smith couldn't do it, and so they said, "Oh, okay, we'll make it somebody else."
Is that what happened?
I think so. I don't know for sure. There's actually I saw a post on Instagram that Deathstroke was apparently originally the villain. There's a picture of James Gunn like in a pre-production meeting, and on the wall you see them like a kind of concept art of them walking up out of the water onto the beach, and it's Deathstroke in the center rather than Bloodshot or Deadshot. So I don't know if it went from Deadshot and then Will Smith couldn't do it to Deathstroke to Bloodsport, or how it kind of worked, but I believe Deadshot was supposed to be the original. Will Smith couldn't do it or didn't want to do it, and they could have just recasted it, but rather than recasting it, they changed the character, but kind of kept the same storyline.
Right.
That's how it felt to me. I don't know if that
I can totally see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense, definitely.
I don't know if that's how it was at all, but I think Deadshot was originally supposed to be in it. But I know for all the other characters, James Gunn specifically wanted to pick kind of these, C-list character, these characters that don't get a whole lot of love in comics or movies or animated shows or anything. Because honestly, I had not heard of most of them before this movie. I had heard of Polka Dot Man, and I knew King Shark. In the comics, King Shark is sometimes a hammerhead. But I think the first time I had heard of King Shark was there was an animated movie called Batman Assault on Arkham, and it's essentially a Suicide Squad movie, and King Shark is in that. King Shark has also been on the Flash TV show.
Okay.
But I did not know. I knew who
really
original Ratcatcher was. I didn't know there was a Ratcatcher 2. But I didn't know who Peacemaker was. I don't think I knew who Bloodsport was before this movie. And then for the first team, you got Javelin, Blackguard, Savant,
Captain Boomerang.
Well, yeah, I didn't know who Captain Boomerang was, obviously. Weasel and TDK, which actually TDK was made up for the movie. He's actually the one character that was not like a DC character. So I didn't know who any of those guys were except for Boomerang. Which, by the way, I was super sad that Boomerang got killed, because I actually really like Jai Courtney's version of Captain Boomerang. I liked him from the first Suicide Squad movie. I liked seeing him in this movie. I didn't. I know.
So I was happy.
You were happy that he got killed. I was bummed.
Like, okay, I was like, room for another character.
Yeah. And I don't know. Speaking about the beginning of the movie, I knew these characters were going to die. I didn't actually think Savant was going to die, because James Gunn and Michael Rooker are good friends, and so I kind of expected Michael Rooker to be in the movie. But as soon
especially when you see like him take off, and you're like, oh, okay, he's getting away.
Right. Then,
but it's perfect, because that is the moment where you get to see, first we have the tension, and it shows the audience, is Waller really gonna do it?
Right.
And we get to see, yes,
yeah,
she's actually gonna blow their heads up if they don't do the mission.
Yeah. As soon as Blackguard gets his face blown off, I was like, oh, okay, we're killing them all right now. And so I didn't really care for the whole beach scene. Like you said, it was a little hokey. I also really didn't like, I think it's on purpose, we're told in the beginning of the movie, Savant's like this, tactical genius, and he's like really good at armed combat and everything, and then he gets all freaked out by everybody dying and runs away. I guess that's the joke, but I didn't really care for that. I don't know, just seeing Michael Rooker all of a sudden go, ah, and then like turn around and start swimming away, just kind of, I was like, that was weird. And the other question I had, one of the notes I wrote actually was about Mongol, who is supposedly, I looked her up, she's like a kind of an alien godlike creature. And she's like, she grabs a hold of the helicopter, I'm guessing she weighs a lot or something, because she actually managed to make the helicopter kind of spin out of control. But as soon as she grabs it, she starts screaming. And I didn't really understand that at all. Like, what was her plan? I mean, I assumed she was trying to bring down the helicopter. And so once it starts coming down, she starts screaming.
I think they were trying to show that there was no plan and that these guys were just doomed from the get-go because they were just making awful decisions and his team sucked, I think is really what they were going for.
I guess just in that opening scene, the humor felt a little forced to me because I feel like that's supposed to be humorous. Mongol being like, I'll take down the helicopter. Right. And then, I can't.
Oh, yeah. That was, like I said, that moment right there was when I first watched it and I was like, ooh. Yeah. And I was like, is this what this movie's going to be?
That being said, I did like Nathan Fillion, TDK, the detachable kid. His power is just so stupid that I just think it's funny that he like his arms. They float very slowly up to these guys with guns and then just start slapping them. I thought that was
I thought the slapping was forced, but I loved how when they showed them dying and then they were shooting his floating arms.
Yeah.
And he was flailing in pain, like in the background.
Right. Yeah, that was good too.
Yeah, I liked that.
I didn't really care for the whole scene between Harley and Javelin until she finds the javelin again later in the movie. Because at first I was like, that again just felt like kind of a forced joke. He was like, "You're the only one I trust with my javelin. Be sure to use it for," and then dies.
Right. Yeah.
And she's like, "You didn't tell me what to use it for."
She freaks out. Right. Yeah. I didn't like that part. But so to me, Harley is a character that I don't remember discussing this on the original Suicide Squad episode. And I'll say this, I'm probably gonna lose some of our fan base for this, but Harley Quinn is not necessarily one of my most favorite characters in the DC universe in general. I like her in the animated series. I like her. I think she's used well a lot of the time, but I think she's become this character over the years that is kind of, you don't like, there's different versions of Harley and I don't know. The one that Margot Robbie does is a lot, especially in the first one, I felt was just, it's a good Harley, but it's also like, can't explain it. I'm not gonna go. Well, I could, but I'm not gonna go into detail about it right now. I want to go into how I feel about her now, and that's like you were talking about that line with the javelin. I remember she starts, and that's like one of her first big moments in the movie when she starts having that line, and I was like, we're getting an over the top Harley that I'm not gonna like it. It's gonna kind of probably annoy me. It's maybe the best way to put it. However, once we get to the scene where she is with what's his name?
The president?
Yes. Starts with a J.
Luna or something like that, isn't it?
Luna's his last name, yeah.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I don't remember his first name.
We'll call him Luna. And her scene with him and pretty much throughout the rest of the movie, I like. Because it's not an over the done top Harley. And I was thinking about this. I was like, what is her performance? What would I say are the parts that I don't like? And it would be whenever Harley, I think, is done just overdone, I don't like that. But she, from the rest of the movie, just does a really good Harley Quinn that is animated enough to be Harley, the Joker's, girl, basically. But not overdone to where it's like just feels forced. And so I definitely give her props in this one. I think she does a very good Harley Quinn.
Cool. I like Margot Robbie a lot as Harley Quinn. I think I do have an interesting thought on this, and I'm curious to see what you think about this. This is all speculation on my part. I have no idea if this is actually true, but I feel like when James Gunn was hired to write and direct this movie, he probably said, okay, I want to use a bunch of characters that are not like mainstream characters. And Warner Brothers said, that's fine, but you have to use Harley Quinn. And I think he was, accepted that. And because he's gone on the record saying that his favorite character to write was Harley Quinn. And so I feel like he grew to love Harley Quinn, but I don't think he really wanted Harley Quinn in this movie. That's personally what I think. Because I think if you take Harley Quinn out of this movie, it wouldn't change a whole lot. Yes, you wouldn't. Right. You wouldn't have. You'd have to have the squad kill President Luna because she does that. But otherwise, she does not.
She carries the javelin into Starro.
She does do like the death, but really the rats do the rest of the work. She just makes a hole for the rats, and then the rats.
But that hole was needed, man.
It was, but Deadshot could have made. I mean, not Deadshot. It's not Deadshot. It's Bloodsport. Bloodsport could have made a hole in Starro. I'm just saying,
right?
She does not. She's not vitally important, I don't think, to this film. I like her. I wouldn't want her to not be in the movie. But I just don't think it almost felt because she's not really a part of the squad. She's a part of the first team in the beginning, and then she's captured, and she's not really a part of the squad until the third act or so. So I don't really. It's just felt like to me the impression that I got was that James Gunn was like, "Well, I got to put Harley in this, so I guess I'll do this," and then have her kind of join the team at the end. And then by the time they were shooting the movie and everything, he really grew to love Harley.
Right.
But it felt almost like Venom in Spider-Man 3 to me. Like Sam Raimi didn't want Venom, you know?
I see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Sam Raimi was unable to save Venom.
I don't think Sam Raimi went on to love Venom like James Gunn went on to love Harley Quinn. Yeah.
But you're right. I would say the two main characters in this movie are Bloodsport and Peacemaker.
And Ratcatcher. I would argue Ratcatcher, too, is a big main character.
They're all big main characters. But anyway, yeah.
Well, I'd say Ratcatcher, too, because she, to me, is really the heart of the movie. And her and Bloodsport's dynamic and relationship, that's one of the things I actually really love about the movie.
Mm-hmm. You're right. She's kind of the one that gets to get the stuff out of Bloodsport because he's so reserved.
Right.
So I don't think I've seen Idris Elba in anything except Thor.
Wow.
What else has he been in that you would think maybe I would have seen?
He has been in. That's a great question. You put me on the spot here. The only thing that is coming to my brain right now is The Dark Tower, which I don't think you've seen that.
I have not. No.
He's been in a bunch of stuff, dude. I'm sure you've seen him in stuff. But let me look it up. He was in.
I don't think so, and I'll tell you why. Because I think I would have remembered him because his acting is just phenomenal.
Did you ever see Layer Cake? I think he was in Layer Cake.
Nope, I never saw Layer Cake.
Really? You'd really like Layer Cake. You never saw Star Trek Beyond?
Mm-mm.
Dang, son.
What is Star Trek Beyond?
Star Trek Beyond is the third Chris Pine Star Trek movie.
Oh,
there was Star Trek Into Darkness, and Star Trek Beyond.
Yes, I have seen it once.
Okay.
I've seen it once. Anyway, I don't feel like I really like this is the
Prometheus
shining moment where I did see Prometheus, but I don't remember him in it.
He has I think he's got a southern accent in that movie. I think he doesn't have his British accent.
Gotcha. But he is British, right? In real life.
He is British, yes. I think his accent in the movie.
So this is his real
Yes,
voice.
I believe so. Yeah.
But anyway, I was just blown away. I can't wait to see him in more stuff. And John Cena, like I've never seen him in a movie, and honestly, I've never seen him really in anything. I know who he is based on his popularity, like on Nickelodeon and my, me having kids. But I don't watch wrestling or anything. And
what is he on Nickelodeon?
He would host, like, I think he might have had like a show, like maybe I don't remember if he had a show or not, but he would host like the Kids' Choice Awards.
Oh, okay, I got you.
And I remember like, and I remember the first time one of my kids like saw him like on TV, and they're like, "It's John Cena," and I was like, "How do you even know? Like, who? I don't know what." Like I was like, I recognize him, but I don't know his name, and it. So that moment stuck out for me. And then I thought he did a fantastic job. And Peacemaker is just, like I said, one of my favorite things about Peacemaker is his outfit and how they just went, let's make him look as ridiculously comic book as we can. They did the same with Polka Dot Man,
yeah,
which he has my favorite moment in the movie. It's right before he dies.
When when he goes, I'm a
Yes.
superhero. Yeah.
The first time I saw that, which was like I said, the viewing where I wasn't super gung ho about the movie, but that moment, the first time I saw it, I remember kind of gave me chills. Like just his happiness of just, he felt
Useful.
yes.
Yeah.
And it came through. And who
Yeah.
plays him?
David Desmalchian.
Yeah, he just awesome job. Polka Dot Man is one of my favorite characters in the movie.
Polka Dot Man is one of my favorite characters in the movie too, if not my favorite character. That moment is great. I will grant you that. However, for me, that line is in the trailer, so I knew that was coming as well. I knew that was coming like in that moment, and then I think it's ruined by him turning to Bloodsport. I keep combining Deadshot and Bloodsport. I mean, it's basically the same character. He turns to Bloodsport. And he says it again with a little expletive in there, but he goes, I'm a suit. And as soon as he turns to Bloodsport and you see that wide shot, I was like, he's dead. And of course, Starro's tentacle slams down on him. And I was like,
I didn't see it coming.
Really?
It just smashed him. And I was like, well, that ruined that moment.
Yeah. My favorite moment with Polka Dot Man actually comes a little earlier than that. And it's when they're in when they're in Jotunheim.
I would hope so, because that's his last
that's
moment.
the last. That's true. That is the last. It couldn't be afterwards. It's when Ratcatcher is holding.
Unless it's Ratcatcher 2 holding his bones and
yeah,
guts,
that's my favorite. That's my favorite part. No. My favorite part is when they're in Jotunheim and Milton gets killed. If you remember that, and
yes,
and he gets all upset about it, and Bloodsport's like, Milton was with us, and he goes, yeah, and but the honestly, it's such a small part, but I love his acting in it, and it's when Harley Quinn goes, who's Milton, and it cuts to Polka Dot Man, and he just goes, what? I just like that just cracks me up every time, just the way he goes, what? And they're arguing about Milton and everything. I don't know, it's that whole scene, the fact that Milton even came into the building with them cracked me up. Like that, I thought James Gunn did a great job with.
It's funny because like I said, to me, watching.
Were you about to say it's funny because you don't remember who Milton is?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. I remember they made it very clear
who Milton
was. And then Harley Quinn tries to call
Bloodsport Milton. Not my name. Yep.
We had a conversation for like 4 hours. I don't remember about how your name is Milton. What did you think about King Shark?
So I like King Shark, but I feel like I know
what you're gonna say. Say it.
Yeah, I feel like James Gunn said Groot really worked for Marvel.
There you go.
Let's just put Groot in this movie, but make him a shark. Because that's all he was to me. He was
what I was gonna say.
He was Groot. He had he had obviously more lines than Groot, but he's essentially the exact same character.
Exactly. And he and I would say Peacemaker kind of have the Rocket and Groot tension that goes on.
Yeah. Well, especially when King Shark makes the little figurine of Peacemaker. Yes. Yeah, that's Groot and Rocket all the way.
Yeah.
Looks nothing like me.
And it's funny too, because the one that blows up outside is also one of the ones of Peacemaker.
Oh, really?
It's not the one he was making inside. So I'm guessing that King Shark is actually making every one of his bombs
into
people.
Man. Yeah, into little figurines. That's funny.
But I liked when his hand comment, right?
Yeah.
And Waller is going around the room, and I really think this is what the joke was, because if it is, it's hilarious. And maybe it was obvious and everyone knows this is the joke. But anyway, the first question goes to Bloodsport, and he raises his hand, and he asks the question. Her answer is no. Then, or maybe it was Peacemaker, but anyway, and then goes to someone else, same thing. Then King Shark raises his hand. she looks at him kind of like and asks, and he just points at it and goes, hand.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, yes, King Shark, that's your hand, and moves on. And he looks over, I think it's a blood sport, and nods like, that's right, and then looks away. And I was trying to figure out what that whole thing meant. And I think King Shark saw them all raising their hands, asking a question, which he doesn't know really what they're asking. I guess he kind of does. But the answer is no for both people. He raises his hand, points, and tells her what it is. She says yes to his question.
Right.
And he's like,
he's the one that gets a yes.
It's a hand. Duh. How did you guys? I know it's a hand.
That's kind of funny, actually. Not the fact that he got a yes, but that he was like, you guys are calling your hands the wrong thing.
He thought he got the answer.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. He thought he got the answer right. Yeah, I thought it was pretty funny. I hope that's what it was.
That's pretty good. So. My favorite King Shark moment is when he says he can wear a disguise. And they're like, oh, really? What disguise are you going to wear? He's like, fake mustache. And they're like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I do like that. And then he holds up his finger and tries to pretend like it's a mustache. That was okay. I think my least favorite King Shark moment, because I don't know, maybe we get the impression that the only thing really going on at Jotunheim is Project Starfish. So I didn't understand what these crazy looking fish were that he finds. Dumb new friends.
Right.
What are those things? Why are they there? I don't know. Just I just didn't get that scene really. But those fish have to be super strong.
You're right. Now that you mention it, there was like, what did that even affect?
Right.
They bit him.
And then they disappear.
I guess they distracted him for a little bit. What was he doing? He was trying to do something. I think
he was setting bombs, and then Bloodsport and Harley like go somewhere, and he goes up. He just like kind of wanders off upstairs and finds them, and then he's in that room when the bombs go off, and he gets attacked by those fish thing, whatever they are. But then eventually he falls out of the tower, and the fish die. So it's just kind of pointless.
It was very pointless.
Yeah,
exactly.
Those fish are pretty strong though, because you can shoot King Shark apparently, and bullets don't penetrate his skin, and yet those things
is pretty cool.
That is cool.
You get a couple cool scenes, because I remember the first time you see that is with Bloodsport. And he's like, just,
right, because he was trying to eat Ratcatcher,
right?
Yeah,
and I think the moment, one of the moments where I really realized how much I loved this movie the second time was right at the end when they're going to go fight Starro, and he has that like gun that he has. It's almost like a shotgun, but then he has all those different gadgets that come and like connect to.
Yeah.
And I remember the music playing with that setup, and then knowing that they were getting ready to go fight Starro, which, like I said, I didn't like even the Starro battle, the first viewing. And I was like, I'm probably not going to like it second. But that moment when they were gearing up to go when I was like, this movie is actually pretty awesome. And I'm pretty invested in the characters. That's how I knew, like I said, the first time I viewed it, even though I felt kind of just not wowed, but I knew the characters somehow had stuck with me enough to where I was kind of thinking about them a few days later.
Yeah, and that's a pretty good sign of. I mean, I will agree. The characters are very good in this movie. James Gunn does a good job of. He does a good job of handling movies with a large cast and making all of the characters feel different and.
But at the same time, we're talking about plugins, and I think you could plug in Star-Lord for Bloodsport, especially at the end when he's like giving out the direction, and he's like, because he points to
the leader.
He was like, you were talking about King Shark in one of your favorite moments, and another one of mine is when Bloodsport looks over and he points to Starro and is like, nom nom.
Yeah.
And then the look of King Shark when he looks up, and it's like a very heroic moment, but he just doesn't say anything. He might have said nom nom, but he like starts just marching over and like hopping almost like the Hulk. And then he like jumps on something and just launches up onto Starro. And I thought that was a really cool moment. as well.
It is a cool moment. It's funny that you mentioned Hulk because that's what that scene reminds me of. It's not bad. I don't dislike it for this, but that whole scene with Bloodsport telling, you know, people what to do, and you know, he says, "King Shark, nom nom." That reminded me of Captain America from Avengers. You know, going Hulk smash.
Right.
And then he turns to Polka Dot Man and he goes, "Polka Dot Man, that's your mom." And you know that I did like that whole stuff with Polka Dot Man where he sees his mom everywhere and like
the first reveal
yeah,
when it turns and shows like the team as the mom
they're all dancing
fantastic.
and stuff. Yeah, it was pretty great. Or no, yeah, I guess before that, he sees his mom though in the club too, which I thought was funny.
Right.
One of my favorite moments in the movie is when they think Rick Flag has been captured and they are breaking into the camp, and Peacemaker and Bloodsport are competing on how they can who has the best kills, basically.
Which I didn't think I thought it was funny the first time, but the second time, I really thought it was funny. And the part that I laughed out loud the first time watching it was when Peacemaker takes the knife and just goes up the guy.
It's lying there? Yeah.
He doesn't even look as he's doing it. He's just like, as he's walking, stabs, just up the butt. It's great. And he goes, they're trying to be stealthy, right? And this is where I realized how brilliant the costumes were. Because he's like on top of the building, carefully walking across this like ceiling that's being held up, this like twigs, basically, sticks. And he's gotta be like, how I can only imagine how much John Cena weighs. His arms are gigantic. Like I remember there's several shots where I'm just like, his arms are huge. They're like as big as his body sometimes. And but he's got this like bright red suit on, and he's like slowly
not exactly camouflaged.
Exactly. And I'm like, the people in the background have got to be able to see him, but he's like one of the top probably like military, you know, stealth people that the US has, but he's wearing this huge bright red suit, but he's able to still be
stealthy and actually
and like get and like just take out everyone.
Yeah, that you reminded me of the scene in the beginning actually, which I thought was great because Amanda Waller, and I wonder if this was again a nod at the fact that it was originally Deadshot and they switched it over to Bloodsport and they were able to throw this joke in. But Amanda Waller was like, each of you have been picked for your unique abilities. And she introduces Peacemaker to Bloodsport, and she gives his backstory, and Bloodsport goes, "Are you kidding me? He does the exact same thing I do." Like he's like, but then he's like, but I do it better or something, you know. So they have that little bickering moment. But I thought that was I kind of chuckle at that moment, and then I actually like the callback to that later when Bloodsport and Peacemaker face off, and Bloodsport actually uses smaller bullets, and it pierces through Peacemaker's bullet.
And there's a reason, like they made it actually be an integral part to the story and why one character outdid the other. It was really cool.
Going back to the camp, though, I again love when they finally find Flag, and Flag is like, "She saved my life," and then she goes, "Why didn't my soldiers alert me to your presence?" And they were like, "Didn't see anybody. There wasn't anybody out here." I thought that was pretty great. Because they just... I did write, though, that it was a little unbelievable. So, Alice Braga's character, whose name I don't remember, she wants to overthrow this government because the government has murdered her family. And she's upset that the government, killed everybody she knows. And that's exactly what Bloodsport and Peacemaker and Polka Dot Man just did. And she's like, "Yeah, that's cool. No problem. You guys, we'll help you out." It just, I don't know. That just seemed a little convenient to me. But
I don't think Polka Dot Man killed anyone yet. I think
he kills somebody in the camp. He throws polka dots.
He does?
That's when it's the very first time we see him using his powers, because that's when he first tells us, he's like, "I don't want to kill anybody, but I just pretend they're my mom, and then it comes easy." And then he's the one, he actually says that when they break into the camp. They're like, "No, I didn't see anybody out there. Didn't see anybody." And he goes, "I pretended they were my mom and I killed them." And Rick Flag.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Speaking of Rick Flag, he is I think, a much better used character
Oh yeah,
in this than because like
he got a
he's
major upgrade in this movie for
yeah,
sure. I thought in the first movie, I didn't think Joel Kinnaman was anything special, and I now seeing this movie, I realized Joel Kinnaman's actually a pretty good actor. He just didn't
I
have a whole
agree.
lot to work with in the first movie.
Yeah, I agree.
At least in the version we got. I don't know. There's this whole push to release the Ayer cut, and I maybe the movie would be better. I don't know. I still want to see it. I hope they do eventually, maybe one day release
There's
it.
no way it'll compare to this. I'll say that.
I don't. Yeah, I agree. I think this one will still be better, but I don't know. It's not going to be like Zack Snyder's Justice League. It's not going to be like, in my brain anyway. I just don't see it as being a completely different movie because, I mean, the Joker. That's how he wanted the Joker to be and everything, you know. So I mean, there's just maybe it'll be a better movie than what we got, but I still don't think it's going to be as good of a movie as this movie, perhaps, or something. But yeah, I think Rick Flag was actually he's very enjoyable to watch, and he's a cool character. And I was actually really bummed when Peacemaker killed him off.
Oh, but man, the line he has right before that is amazing. Like I love his last line. He goes,
Peacemaker.
Peacemaker. What a joke.
Yeah, that's a great line.
And like I love like I remember thinking this. I love how they didn't throw in like any expletives like in that line. It was like what a joke, and it just and Peacemaker obviously can't say anything back because he's now dead, or not Peacemaker, but Rick Flag's now dead right after that line. And what a just punch in the gut.
Yeah.
And but you knew, I would assume Peacemaker felt that punch, that he felt guilt because he didn't want to do it. Peacemaker was an interesting character, right? Like he's not a bad guy, but he's got definitely some very bad aspects of him. Like he's willing to kill his team for covering up the secret of the U.S. government. And so yeah, he obviously becomes the villain at that point.
He also flat out says he's willing to kill women and children for peace. So
yes, you're right.
He's not a very good person.
Right.
Even though he thinks that he's doing it for the greater good.
But he does, I think, show things throughout the movie where he does care, like about, because like I said, I think he didn't want to fight Flag.
Right.
But because he kind of, tried to reason with him, and it wasn't like he was scared of Flag.
If Rick Flag had just handed over the hard drive, he would have lived. Like, yeah. Peacemaker and he wouldn't have fought if Flag had just handed over the hard drive.
Right.
But Flag, couldn't stand by and be part of the cover-up.
And do you think Rick did you feel like because I was trying to remember when the moment where Bloodsport like falls through the flooring,
yeah,
and lands in front of him,
Peacemaker, yeah,
and then they make like eye contact. Had they started to develop any kind of friendship, or were they still kind of like barking at each other?
I think they were still kind of competing / bickering with each other. I don't think they had really developed any sort of friendship.
Okay.
I think they still kind of got on each other's nerves.
Gotcha.
So I don't think Bloodsport had any problem killing Peacemaker. I don't think there was any sort of hesitation. I think Bloodsport had developed a strong friendship with Ratcatcher.
Correct.
And when he saw Peacemaker standing over her, pointing the gun at her, and she was crying, he was like, oh, this guy's got to die. I don't think there was any thought whatsoever about, oh, I'm about to kill my friend. I think he was like, he's about to kill my friend.
I couldn't remember, like, if I had maybe missed some stuff in between where they had, like, talked or something. Okay.
I don't think so. I mean, they might have had I don't think they ever really had a heart-to-heart or anything like that. I think it was mostly just the bickering.
Yeah, now that you're mentioning it, I'm trying to remember what the redeeming qualities of Peacemaker are, and
there's not very many, I don't think. Other than the fact that he's funny.
Right. He's a fun character to watch, for sure.
Well, you'll get more of him because they're making a Peacemaker TV show.
I know. So. And after watching this the second time, I'm pretty stoked about that.
Yeah. Let's talk about Ratcatcher.
Are you gonna watch it?
Oh yeah, I'll watch it for sure. I liked John Cena in it a lot. I thought, originally so whenever a wrestler transitions to making films, I'm always like, ugh. I don't know. I'm just never really that open to it. Like when The Rock first moved to movies, I was like, The Rock. And then I went and
Right.
saw a couple of them, and I'm
He's
like, oh, that's pretty good, actually. And
dude, Dwayne Johnson, I like he's a
he's
good
awesome
actor.
now. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's really good.
yeah.
And I
I
think of him more now as an actor than I do a
agreed.
wrestler.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing with Dave Bautista. When Dave Bautista got cast as Drax, I was like, really? We couldn't find anybody better than Dave Bautista?
Right.
And then you go see him and you're like, okay, he's actually pretty good.
Right.
And it's the same thing with John Cena. John Cena has made a couple of movies before this. He was actually pretty funny in the movie Blockers. But like he had made like a movie called like The Marine and stuff that would just look like garbage. But he's pretty good. I wouldn't say he's like the strongest actor, but he does a great job as Peacemaker, and he can handle the comedy pretty well.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying is I agree. This is obviously not the peak of his acting career, but he does a really good job. Like he does a really good job, I think. And I think if they keep casting him in good roles, that he could develop into an actor like Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah.
So
He could.
and that'd be cool because I think he'd be a cool person to continue to watch. So hopefully that works out for him.
For sure. So now let's talk about Ratcatcher 2. What did you think about her and her backstory and all that stuff?
I agree that it's kind of the heart of the movie. I like how she, she's kind of the nurturer of the team. She's the one that keeps everyone from running off and backstabbing each other, basically.
Right.
Like we're a team, guys,
Yeah.
and
She doesn't care like at all that King Shark tried to eat her, and she's like, no, he wouldn't eat his friends, right? And she like tries to, say, hey, we're your friend and stuff.
Would you eat your friends if you had any? No. And he's like, and then Bloodsport's like, yes. He's lying.
Yeah. Ratcatcher 2 is actually the one character who's not. I mean, she's in jail for robbing a bank, but she is like probably the one character who's the least villainous of the characters.
Right.
She was in jail for robbing a bank using the rats, and they said that the rats were a weapon, so she was arrested for like armed robbery, basically. But she has a pretty kind of tragic backstory where her dad was Ratcatcher 1, and but was like addicted to drugs and taught her how to use his equipment and summon the rats, and then he passed away, and she comes to America, and I think that actress was phenomenal. I thought she did such a great job. I really am excited to see her in more things. And I thought that I really do think she's like the heart of the movie. And I think she brings a lot of the emotion to the movie, especially towards the end of the film, when she.
Yeah. It's the shot that really did it for me. Because like she's kind of the character that I mentioned earlier that kind of brings out a lot of Bloodsport and gets the audience to see this character that at the beginning of the movie was cold and shell, and like had a wall.
Yeah.
Is now starting to try to learn to trust and open up to people. And she's the character that brings that out of him.
Yeah.
And then she has the moment at the end with Starro where she's called all the rats, and you just have the like waterfall of like the rapids of rats like going around her, and she's just standing in the middle. And it was an awesome shot that they had of her. It kind of felt almost like Joan of Arc. Is kind of what I thought. And yeah, so yeah, I definitely liked her.
That moment where she calls on all the rats during Starro's battle, I like that scene. But the first time I watched the movie, I thought, that's a lot of rats. Like, how many rats are actually on that island? Like, because that seemed like millions and millions of rats. I don't know. It just seemed a little far fetched to me, but I can kind of forget it and enjoy it. I can let it slide. But yeah, the first time I saw it, I was like, that's way too many rats.
Yeah, I definitely did too. Second time watching it, you got the music and you have
The music's great in that scene, by the way.
it's so like it's like I'll just say it and it makes sense, but it's so James Gunn. It's like such a James
Right.
Gunn
Yeah.
ending
Yeah.
of like this giant starfish, and then you have this happy music with disgusting rats coming and saving the day
Right.
as they eat away at the veins of
Flesh
the
and
inside
yeah,
of the
exactly. Yep.
eyeball.
Yeah, that's true. That
And
is
and
very
like
James
it's
Gunn.
it's so strange. Yeah. So but and then you got to go really dark with the Harley. She's just like watching the rats and there's blood. So you have two different moments with Harley Quinn. The first of all, when she's breaking out of the I guess the capital
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
of, and you have her scene where she does her Matrix like
Right.
escape from and beats up the guards and shoots them. That was a really cool scene. I
Did
liked the way that was shot.
you like that even the first time you watched it?
Yes.
Okay.
I liked it more the second time.
Yeah.
The first time I remember thinking, okay, here we go, another, gun and escape. But I still liked it. And then the second time, I liked it a lot. And then you have where the like what was it, butterflies or birds and stuff?
There's
I guess
both,
it's
really.
birds.
There's butterflies and animated birds and stuff in there, yeah.
The first time I saw that, I didn't really like it. The second time I did, and I think it's because I realized it almost felt kind of Zack Snyderish
Hmm.
to me. Like, it kind of reminded me of maybe the style of like Sucker Punch or something, which I've never seen, but I just kind of felt like I can't explain. I
That's all right.
I don't know why I said I can't explain it. I explained it the best I could.
That's a scene that I wasn't sure how I felt about it the first time, and the second time I was like, okay, it's pretty cool. I like it's like it's a glimpse into Harley's brain. Harley is crazy,
right,
and
that's what I was saying.
Things she's seeing.
Right, and that's what I was gonna say was like I was gonna say you got birds and butterflies, but it's Harley Quinn, so shouldn't it be like something kind of dark or gothic or? And then at the end, she's swirling inside the eye of Starro, and we have rats and blood, and I'm like, this seems a little bit more Harley Quinn.
More
to
Harley
me.
Quinn. Yeah.
She's smiling as blood is just just very dark. But anyway.
What'd you think about Amanda Waller? Viola Davis as Amanda Waller. She came back. She was one of I think there was 4 people that came back from the original Suicide Squad movie, and that was Jai Courtney as Captain Boomerang. He didn't last very long. Joel Kinnaman as Rick Flag, Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, obviously, and then we got Viola Davis as Amanda Waller.
So the first time viewing, I felt about the same as I did watching Suicide Squad, and that was I thought that I don't know, she just didn't stand out to me. The second viewing this time, I thought she does fantastic. Like she has those couple yelling moments where the first time I viewed it, I was like, I just felt forced and maybe overdone to me. Second time viewing, it was it seemed so much more believable, and I was able to. I thought she did great.
Nice, yeah. I think Viola Davis is pretty much good in everything, so I think she did a great job. I like that this time around we kind of saw the whole operation. We saw the other employees that helped her with the computers. The guy that's in that scene, and I don't know how you pronounce his last name. It's Steve Ag or Agi or I don't know, but he's actually the guy that played King Shark on set. So he had the motion capture suit on set and everything. I liked his character. And I like all those scenes for the most part. The only moment I didn't really like with those people was after that woman hits Amanda Waller in the head with a golf club.
Mm-hmm.
She's very soft-spoken.
Right.
Because I think he asks her, and I don't remember his character's name, but I think he asked her, he's like, what did you just do? And she was like, there's children on that island. We can't let those kids die. And then immediately after that, maybe it cuts to something, and then it comes back to her, and she's just yelling at this guy for no reason.
I know. I didn't like that either. I thought it was stupid because it was supposed to be funny.
It's supposed to be funny.
And it wasn't.
To me, it was cringy.
Yeah, I agree.
It felt like
because they were trying to be funny with a loud, rude moment after a soft moment, and it just didn't work.
It's like when you see old people in a movie cursing. You know, people always think that's just automatically funny, and it's not.
Right.
And that's how that felt to me. It was like, oh, we'll just make this timid woman like yell at somebody and curse at him, and it'll be hilarious. And it just no.
Right.
I wish they had cut that moment out.
Agreed. It's funny because that stood out to me too. I had that exact thought. Yep.
There was one character we forgot to talk about, the Thinker, or just Thinker. I guess.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we didn't talk about him at all.
He had a laugh out loud moment for me too. Is when I don't remember who the assistant or the second general was.
Yeah.
But he makes a comment he's like, "Does it make your brain good?" He goes, "Yeah, it makes my brain good."
Peter Capaldi, I have not seen him in very many things, but the few things I've seen him in, he's really good. And he's really good at being kind of snarky and sarcastic like that. And he is really good as Thinker. And the thing that I think I'm most impressed about with his performance is that he plays it so straight and so well with this ridiculous head makeup stuff on.
That you don't even, for whatever reason, it doesn't take it just fits.
It just works perfectly. Yeah. I also love the small little kind of hints that he has been abusing Starfish, or maybe even the people that are in grotesque ways, and he they kind of look at him and he's just like shrugs almost. He's like, "Man, what can you do?"
Did you see what he does after that though?
No, what?
After he shrugs, and then I don't remember who he says it to, or who he does it to. Looks at them. But they look away, and then he looks back at the Starfish person, kind of like, you weren't supposed to say that.
Really?
Yes. It's all eye acting, but it's there. And
funny.
It's like,
I missed that.
It's like, you.
Yeah. He was actually so good that I was bummed that they killed him. And that, again, it seemed like another, I don't know, it's another moment they were trying to
his death was pretty awesome.
I don't know. I liked when he got ripped in half, or he got his limbs ripped off, but then they immediately throw him to the window and he just explodes against the window, and that seemed a little over the top to me. But
agreed. Yes, I know.
But
I liked how they had the moment where he was kind of showing his true colors, right, of a villain, because he was like,
oh, he was fantastic.
The tentacles were going around his wrists, and he's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean, he's like,
yeah, right, yeah.
It's just that typical, and then, so.
Yeah, that was good. He was really, really good. He acted the part very well.
I'm glad you brought him up, because, he definitely worth the mention.
Yeah. The only thing I think I wanted to mention was the whole scene with Harley and the president. I don't know. I liked when she shoots him, because I wasn't expecting that. And so that was kind of nice. And I liked her whole reasoning behind it. She was like, yes. I told myself.
The second she said why, I was like, oh, red flags. And and killing children, that's kind of a red flag.
Yeah. She's like, I told myself I would do the right thing and murder him. That kind of made me laugh. But that whole sequence where he's, showing her the birds and there's the song playing and I don't know, that didn't, it's not that it didn't work for me. I guess I just don't know. It just almost felt like it slowed the movie down a little bit. I don't know. That's a sequence I could find myself fast forwarding through the next time I watch it, I think.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember why Bloodsport decided to agree to the deal to conceal the information about the involvement.
He makes a deal with Waller. I forget exactly. It's been a week since I've watched this movie, so I don't remember exactly what it was. But I know at one point he says, my daughter never goes to jail. So I think he's basically kind of given his daughter immunity.
Fair enough.
And I think either he made a deal for Ratcatcher, Bloodsport, and Harley to. I can't imagine Amanda Waller would agree to let all three of them walk free, but I think he made some sort of deal for them, but mostly to cover up that secret.
Sensitive.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But I think it was mostly for his daughter. Mostly.
Because I'm trying to remember, because they did make some kind of comment about how they were like, Rick Flag, Flag died because he was trying to get those to people, and you made a deal with her and I can't remember what he said, but there was some kind of a reason as to what it was. But anyway, all in all, I think that's all I have to say.
We didn't really talk about the music except for the Ratcatcher scene at the end, which that music is really good, and like you said, James Gunn-ish. The score I think is pretty good. I've listened to the soundtrack, the score on Spotify a couple times, and it's pretty good. Nothing really, no themes really kind of stand out to me, but it's a decent score to listen to, especially that song at the end of the film when she's calling all the rats. The music that James Gunn picked, I liked, but I didn't think it was as good as some of his choices for the Guardians movies.
Yeah, I mean, my speculation on that would be that Guardians 1, he had to pick stuff that would be pretty familiar to people, because it seems like the Guardians 1 soundtrack to me had a lot more. So like I didn't recognize
the most popular out of all the soundtracks.
Now there is a song. Now that you bring that up, there is a song. The one about the friends dying.
Yeah.
That song I actually discovered. Like, had you heard that one before?
No.
I actually discovered that song on Spotify like a few months ago.
Oh, really?
And like added it to my like discovered music of 2021, and I've heard that song a few times. And when it came on here, I was like, people can hear the crazy song that I've been listening to about him singing about his friends dying on different rant.
Is that the song that plays during the opening credits?
Yes, when it starts,
when they're all dying on the beach.
Yeah, and well, it's when they're all dead. So they all die, and then after it shows that they were making bets, or after it shows who was winning the bets, and it's going through and
the money's exchanging hands and stuff.
Yeah, and then so it's kind of like the introduction of the Suicide Squad team, but the dead ones. So they do the introduction as they're dead on the ground, and it'll like zoom up on the dead person, how they were dead, and then it'll cut back to like the computer screen and show like Captain
Deceased.
Boomerang. Deceased. Yeah, that's the sequence that went to
happen. That is the so I remember bringing this up on the other podcast I did on this, and I didn't bring it up here, so I'm going to bring it up now. One of the things I don't like, and I think you kind of like this more than I do, I don't really care when songs in movies kind of describe what's happening in the scene, when it's kind of on the nose with what's going on in the scene. And that's one of them, because the song is All My Friends Are Dying or whatever it is, and you see all these characters dying on screen or dead. And then the other one in the movie is when Harley Quinn is with the president, and it's that whole sequence, and the song is talking about, being lonely and stuff like that, which I feel like is what Harley was kind of going through. Both songs musically work for the scene, but yeah, just the lyrics. I don't really love when the lyrics are kind of on the nose for what's going on in the scene, unless it's like a musical, obviously.
Right.
That's just a nitpick thing, though. That's not that big of a deal. I did like that the movie opened with Johnny Cash, though. That was kind of cool.
Yes. Agreed. Literally, the first line is "Hello."
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked that too. And the opening scene is really good too, with Rooker.
Yeah.
Bouncing the ball to the beat of the and it starts you off inside a puddle.
Right, you're looking at the reflection,
and then it Yeah, that was really neat sequence.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good cinematography decisions and just tricks that are used in this film.
James Gunn has a pretty cool eye, I think.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'd love to hear your rating of this film, then, John.
So the first time I watched it, I was thinking maybe a 3.
Mm-hmm.
The second time I watched it, I was considering now that we've talked about it, I'm not going to go quite as high because I know that in 10 years could just be, the heat of the moment. But I was thinking about giving it 4.5, but I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 stars.
4 out of 5 stars. Very nice. I am going to give it what I originally gave it, I think, after my first viewing. Because even though I think I like it a little bit more this time around, or the second viewing, and there's there's moments that I love and everything, but I still think overall it's, for me, a 3 out of 5 star movie. I remember
you're wrong.
Okay, fair enough. That is.
I'm just kidding.
That's fine. Well, we'd love to know what you think about the Suicide Squad. You can always leave us a comment on cinemaheroes.com. You can also message us on Facebook, facebook.com/SM&SM podcast. You can leave a comment on our Instagram posts or tweet at us. Both handles are Cinema Heroes. Or if you are watching this video on YouTube, obviously give the video a thumbs up if you like it. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We'd appreciate it, and we'd love to hear from you any way you want to reach out to us. But I think that about wraps it up for this episode. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm John Pelzel.
As always, thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing.